They should say here, right, that we are live or streaming or something.
We are live.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. I'm Sudha Jamte, and I'm very excited to welcome you to WeeklyWed. So, you have seen me, especially my learners from LinkedIn. You have seen me at Sudha Live once a month, middle of the month on Wednesday, the same time we do that. And in the last Sudha Live, we spoke about AGI, and I promised you in 2 weeks we will meet with an expert at WeeklyWed. Here we are. Today, I have Sneha Jadhav, who is the best known expert on AGI that I have been lucky to know for many years. And Sneha has been here at WeeklyWed to educate us at every step of the way. But before we get started, I want to make sure we are all on the same page. So, what is Edge AI? And for those of you who are here in the Zoom, we are recording this, and LM is the magician who sends you the email and all the different posts that you see on Business School of AI, our learner community on LinkedIn. So LM will be taking the recording to get little lesson clips to share with you. So those of you who are already here on Zoom, feel free to introduce yourself, tell us where you're coming from. You can post questions in the chat, and our host, Debika Sarkar, will be fielding it and bringing it to our speaker. And because this is going to be recorded, if you don't want to be in the recording, please don't come on camera or speak up. If you're comfortable with it, that's fine. Okay, so let's get started. So I have a course on LinkedIn Learning called Learn Edge AI using autonomous vehicles with no code. So I'm going to share my screen. Do I have permission to share my screen? It's beautiful. Thank you, Deepika. Okay, so here I am. So I just picked up, so this is a course that teaches you AGI. So if you're new to AGI, you can learn what is AGI. It's about AI running on the edge. And we have several different kind of AI like computer vision and voice. And I like to do hands-on exercises in my class, especially when you get a LinkedIn learning certificate. And you'll see all that here. I wanted to show you one lesson, which is about autonomous vehicles, because I'm actually going to be showing, teaching this lesson, this Edge AI, Just Learn AI course, using autonomous vehicle as my example as an Edge AI device. Sneha here was reminding me that autonomous vehicle is more than just an average Edge AI device. So if you're thinking of putting AI on a connected camera, or you're going to put AI on a smart home assistant, or any manufacturing arm and things like that, which look bulky, maybe on a robot, that is slightly different than doing it on an autonomous vehicle, because autonomous vehicle it has to drive autonomously, so it has a little bit more complexity. So what I thought I would do is I will show you one of my lessons here, which gives you the tech stack. I'm trying to see which one is that. Edge AI in autonomous vehicle, I believe. We can listen to that for a minute. I think it's the next one. Let me find that. Oh, I actually have that in a different window. Let me find that one. So it will give you an idea what is Edge AI and how do you understand autonomous vehicles as edge devices. So actually, I'm going to share that. Sneha, is that the lesson 1.4? Deepika, is that lesson 1.4 in the
Yes,
lesson?
that is.
It is showing computer vision for object detection, AGI and autonomous vehicles.
It's AV. It's AI and AV tech stack.
AI and AV tech stack. So
I also sent
understanding
it
it.
to you.
Now I'm looking at the video of the course itself.
Mhm.
I'm going to share the course back again. So AGI in autonomous vehicle, actually, one of the things that Deepika has been helping me with my courses is to create handouts or like a reading material that you can take with the courses. So we have that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this particular lesson, which explains the full tech stack, just to save time and give time back to our speaker. I'm going to share that link later with LM, and we can post it on Business School of AI on LinkedIn for you to actually check out the course. It's like a couple minutes video, so I don't want to take too much time. But coming back, AI running on the edge is edge AI. Now, how do you get the AI to the device is a lot more steps to get there. So what we wanted to focus on today is what are the challenges with edge AI? So we're building AI, which is training with data, multiple rounds of training that happens somewhere in the cloud. It could be a different company doing that altogether. You might be calling that API for your edge device, or you might be taking that and training that for your specific use cases. Now, what are the challenges before we get to, hey, now it is ready, let us run this and in production and use it with our customers for this specific use case? What are the challenges with edge AI? Because AI, when it runs as inference, it is a production ready piece of footprint. And typically on any IoT device, you need some intelligence to run it. If it's going to run, you need some storage. While it is running, it needs memory. Who is managing all that? And then a device is not a single device ever in a company. So if it's robotic arms, there's going to be hundreds of robotic arms. If it's cameras watching for security or pallets moving or whatever the use case, there's going to be hundreds of cameras. So each device has some identity to identify the device, make sure that all of them have charge, and how are we going to manage that in which device is getting which version of the OS. Earlier, we had, some years back, I think, we had a speaker come in, talk to us from Flex Robotics about how they deploy warehouse robots. And for each customer, there's a set of robots, and they actually have to have a specific version of that software sitting on the robot, which is essentially an edge device. So version controls, storage, memory, forget the autonomous aspect of it for any average edge device. And I'm sure there is more, and they have to send the updated versions over the air. There's a lot more complexity. So on our newsletter in LinkedIn, Limitless newsletter, we have an article about edge AI, which just went out on Monday. So if you want to just look at it and understand the basics of it, that will be a great start. So next, I'm going to pass it on to our speaker, Sneha Jadhav, and she's going to talk to us about the complexity of edge AI. So if you want to learn, the best way to engage today is to ask questions, because she's ready. She has so much confidence, and as an expert in this space, she's not saying, okay, I'm just going to finish my deck and then I'm going to talk to you guys. So you can post your questions right here. I'm eager to get started. And I want to say one more thing about Sneha before I give the floor to her. There are many people who work in certain areas and they come and speak about this. So Sneha is not representing her company or any particular brand. She's coming from her own knowledge. But the way I got fascinated about Sneha and her experience, to bring her back again and again to WeeklyWed to talk to our students here, is when I found out she had worked in Cummins and had built the first digital twin about connecting a hardware device to the net, to the internet, to the cloud, to do something more fascinating than just mobility of information. And that was one of the very first digital twins ever done in the world. And it's also used in autonomous vehicles, but also used in big machinery. And I loved how Sneha explained this digital twin, and she's done a talk for us a while back about digital twins also. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Sneha. Thank you for finding time, and you can take it away. And Deepika, thank you so much for being our host, and you can field the questions. I'm just going to go offline, off camera after this, and listen and learn. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Sudha, for this wonderful introduction. Devika, do you want to pull up the deck first so that we can go through some? And as Sudha said, please let the questions keep coming.
Are you sure you don't want to put the deck yourself? So then you can
Oh yeah, I
control
can
the
do it.
board.
I didn't know if I
Yeah,
should.
just in case you can. So then you can control it to your liking, and I'm happy to field all the questions that come with it.
Perfect. Give me a second here. Okay, share. Okay. Thank you. I'm assuming you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Perfect, thank you. So let me go to the slideshow. Can you still see my screen? Oh,
Yes.
it's paused.
Sneha, can you make this full screen so we can see the whole one because we are seeing the.
Yeah, I think the problem is the full screen is not showing the.
Hold on, then let me do it myself. Give me a sec. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, Sneha, take it away.
Perfect. Well, I cannot see your screen. 1 minute. Sorry. Just my camera.
So does anybody want to write what are the top challenges that you're seeing while Sneha is just getting ready? What is your top challenge in Edge AI? To bring AI to the edge, what are your top challenges? I have one and I'm going to post it on the comment here.
Sneha, let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready. Actually, I cannot see the screen though.
All right, let me share again. All right.
I've written a question, but you can fill that later.
Sneha, can you see it now?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Thanks, Devika.
Mhm.
So yeah, and then every time I say next, you would just go next. Okay, perfect. So like Sudha said, today we'll mostly focus on the challenges that are posed through Edge AI deployments, right? I have kind of listed some common problems, and then I've also gone into some industry specific problems that we say. Can you go to the next slide, please, Devika? Okay. So I think if you look at inference or where if you there are different levels of inference, if you will, right? Traditionally, all of the training and inference would happen on the cloud. Slowly, the inference started moving towards the edge, and it went to it went closer to where the data is produced, right? So as it as more and more technology, more and more um, um, more than technology is the resources, and second is the willingness. As we speak about different industries, we'll talk about the willingness to deploy edge on to closer to the source of the data. Um, uh, goes up. The challenges of deploying or goes up further, right? So that's the main thing I wanted to communicate through this, is that it slowly goes towards the edge, and then you have an on-device edge, or where the model is basically running on the device where the data is produced, right? So you talk about robotic arms, talk about sensors, talk about access points. That's where the ML model is running. Can go to the next slide, Devika. Thank you so much. So one of the main things I want to talk about was the gap, or the opportunity, and then the scaling, right? The opportunity or the advantages of running edge models on, AI models on the edge is immense, right? You don't need a lot of data backhauling. You don't the amount of the use cases, the latency use cases can go down to like less than 10 milliseconds, and that's the main vision. Like if you look at when people, or when companies say, hey, this is what we want to do in future, when they lay out the vision, right? That's what they say, is that, hey, the point of action should be like, it should have less than 10 milliseconds of latency, or even lower. And then, of course, the data privacy has to be 100%. Like the crux of all of the AI vision goes down to that, or AI at the edge vision goes down to that. The problem and the reality is that scaling of enterprises is very critical. They see there's, hey, deploying one model, doing a lab test, testing out one of the models, or doing a POC, proof of concept of, hey, running this ML model on the device versus scaling it to hundreds of devices across multiple facilities. That's a different level of maturity, or this from enterprises. The key insight to take away mainly is, it's not always about the AI model itself when it comes to deployment. It's more about the infrastructure that is supporting deployment of the models at scale, right? So that's the main thing, that main crux of the challenge here, is that AI model is great. Focusing on the AI model is good. I mean, yes, there are aspects of AI model that you need to pay attention to when you're running on the edge as versus the cloud. But when you think about deployments, model deployments, it's mainly about the infrastructure that's supporting the scaling and deployment of these models. Next slide, please, Erika. Okay. I think there are a couple of things that I would like to highlight when you talk about challenges. One is the connectivity paradox. Is the model going to run if there is no connectivity? I think that's the moment we start saying that the device, or the AI, or the model is going to run on the edge, the underlying assumption is that the connectivity is going to be intermittent. So the first question is that, what happens if there is no connectivity? Will my inference still run, right? Second is fleet management. Like I said, I think doing a small POC, doing a lab test of a specific AI model on the edge is different from doing it across multiple devices with connection of choice, right? You could have Wi-Fi, you could have LTE connection, whatever it is. And then the third thing is update. If there is AI is piece of software, or every piece of software needs some levels of updates. And I think it does come down to, hey, if my update fails, will it break my device, or will it hamper the functionality of the device itself? I think these are the three main things, or three main challenges around which there's so much infrastructure, there's so much testing, there's so much work that's happening even today, right? Like as we speak, there's a lot of work happening around these three problems, right? Or solving these three problems. Next slide, please. Okay. I talk about data drift very specific. That's the only if you so what is data drift, right? Very quickly, as you train models with a certain amount of data, or a certain quality of data, or certain aspects and parameters of data. Over time, and that model is basically trained to react or to make inferences based on the training that it has from this original data. But over time, the data itself shifts. Because this data is nothing but parameters. Whether it's an industrial world, retail world, whatever, these are basically parameters that that affect the business logic, right? Over time, the data doesn't the data changes, right? That's mainly what data drift means, is that the truth of the data in reference to the problem that we are solving changes or evolves. So the model also has to evolve, right? So that's one of the main reasons why the models degrade in the physical world, is because they are not being updated to reflect the data drift changes, right? So that's one of the things that needs to be looked out for. Second is the privacy wall. If you look at GDPR, HIPAA in medical devices, you cannot look at the raw data. Raw data is treated as customer user data, which cannot be technically, it has to be encrypted, it has to be codified in some way in order to comply to these regulations. So that's the second thing. That's the second concern, because all of the codification, all of the any kind of processing means compute, means there's some level of compute required before the data is fed into the models itself for inferencing. And so what I've done is, with all challenges, I've listed one solution, and we can go into details later on in later sessions. But I think edge observability comes out as a very important feature, specifically when you talk about device edges, right? It is extremely important to monitor the metadata and have some level of confidence scores against how the data is flowing, or against the raw streams of data, basically. So very important feature, where usually we focus so much on the model itself, the model metrics itself. But data metrics also is extremely important, and also needs to be observed very very keenly, through these models, through these applications or systems or whatever you end up using over time, right? Next slide, please, Silvika. I'm assuming there are no questions. If there are
Yeah,
questions,
actually,
we can
before
put
we
up.
move on, I'd like to bring up a question from
Yeah.
Sudha. What is the difference in challenges in running AI inference on edge versus cloud for an edge device?
Yeah, so all of the slides are basically talking about the challenges on the device versus cloud, right? Because most of these things in the cloud are very because what does cloud have? Cloud has more real estate. Just basically computers is there. Connectivity is always taken for granted. So these two things, these two things itself, kind of take away a lot of questions, concerns that are with device edges, deployment on edges, right, or edge devices. I would say those two, like the resources, from the availability of storage, compute, and connectivity, is the main difference between what is available on the edge versus the cloud, right? That's just that changes the game for managing of AI models after it's deployed. I hope that answers the question. I gave a very short question. I see one more question there, but how do you pack?
Yeah, I figured I'd save that for the end for you because it's a
Okay,
bit more of
let's
a
save that for the
general.
end,
So
actually.
it was a more general question, so I'd bring it back up towards the end.
Sorry, say that again.
Um, Sudha asked a much more general question about Edge AI, so I
Yeah,
figured I'd
no, good.
ask it towards the end and
Perfect.
let you continue.
Yeah. You want to go to the next screen?
Yeah.
Next slide, sorry. Perfect. So what I've done is, in the next few slides, I focused on certain industries, right? Manufacturing industrial is one of the very common use cases for edge AI, because I think if you look at how models were deployed before, I think manufacturing industrial, the amount of data that it produces, the way the models were deployed traditionally, kind of makes it very ripe for industrial and manufacturing to pick up either on device edge AI implementation or near device edge inferencing. So the challenges are, but having said that, challenges are there are more manufacturing facilities or industrial facilities that have been there before this, um, before the whole AI or AI inferencing versus it will be, right? So I will have less amount of greenfield as opposed to the amount of facilities that have already been there. So being able to integrate AI with the older machines is going to be one big challenge. And then there are different solutions for it, right? It's not, maybe it's not on device, but it is near the device. And that's a pretty standard use case, right? Irrespective of AI or not, that's a pretty standard use case. Second is a lot of, if you look at mining, if you look at industries that are not in like enclosed facilities, right? So then basically there are external environmental factors affecting the data, like which needs to be accounted for, or that drift needs to be more managed, right? And then the third thing is that all of these facilities, the downtime is basically hundreds and thousands of dollars. They cost hundreds and thousands of dollars. So a bad AI update or a model update can basically, if not stop, can hinder operations, right? That would be noticeable. So um, it is very important, again, going back to the infrastructure point, it is very important that the infrastructure is well established, reliable, and can be managed remotely, right? So I would say these are the main three for manufacturing industrial. So let's look at the next one. I think next one's retail. Well. So before we go on to retail, I also listed out some very, very common use cases for industrial and manufacturing. One is the predictive maintenance of any. So if you have so many devices, different types of devices, those devices uh, uh, are prone to failures. The idea is that you be able to detect the failures before it actually fails, or detect a pattern of so that it tells you that, hey, looks like something's wrong and this needs to be fixed. Second is quality control. I think the quality control can be of multiple types. There could be visual being the most common one now with Vision AI. Basically, it tells you that, hey, is something wrong with the machine, or even the products, right? A lot of people do a product quality control. Basically, so for example, it's a bottling facility. Is the amount of whatever um, juice or anything that goes into the bottle, is it at the right level? All of that goes into quality control. So quality control of the devices, but also quality control of the product itself. Worker safety, again, very, very common use case, right? It is a lot of industrial facilities have something called as lockout tagout. Basically, it means that you cannot you have to put this lockout tagout tag before you go into or touch anything for maintenance. If there is no tag out there, someone might switch on the machine, right? So that's the main thing. So there's a lot of vision use cases that basically, and also predictive use cases that aim at solving the worker safety problem. Next slide, please. Okay, the next one I put on is healthcare and automotive. I kind of clubbed them together because these two have really high regulatory hurdles. They also have a lot of privacy constraints, um, uh, and a lot of safety constraints. So it is they healthcare is very, I mean, and understandably, healthcare requirements are very strict when it comes to um, 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 giving away any kind of information. So a lot of times they call it the black box problem, where you don't know a lot of times like the data protection, the process protection. They have very strict controls around the process that they do not like to delve into. So which for understandable reasons, right? Most of them have a lot of audits. They have a lot of regulations that need to pay attention to. Automotive is mainly safety. It's very, I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? You're driving a car, very important payload, right? Cars carry. So you any model or anything that is deployed at these two industries will have to keep an account on how much of data protection, observability, access, all of this needs to be taken into account when we're talking about these two industries. Before I go on to the next industry, is there any other questions here? I don't see. Do we need more data, more storage on the edge device? Ideally, no. I mean, if you ask anyone, they would say that try to do most with the least amount of storage, because I mean it's a luxury, right, on device. So your model, your data processing all has to take into account the fact that the storage was going to be limited, specifically as compared to cloud. Do you want to go to the next question? Sorry, next slide. Yeah, sorry. Next slide is fine. Okay, so across all industries, security is going to be the most important thing. Now you have an important piece of software that is sitting at the edge. Most of it is proprietary, right? So the physical access to the devices needs to be protected, or it needs to be monitored, if you will, right? Because you want to make sure that most of the time models are usually secret sauces, right? Like it is a secret sauce. Companies license on that. Companies make money on that. And this is now going to be stored locally on a device, right? It's not in the cloud. It's locally on a device that is going to be stored. So it's important that we account for that. Whatever infrastructure choice or orchestration choices is done, this needs to account for model theft. So model security is another very important feature that comes up because of this. And there are multiple toolkits, right? Like if you look at just device security, root of trust, TPM, secure boot, your encrypted file systems on device, all of these are become very, very important. They are not optional when it comes to edge AI. I would say. Sorry, is there a question? Does cybersecurity threat go down now that AI and data are device? I wouldn't say it goes down. It just now shifts down to the device, right? So the question is, does this cybersecurity threat go down now that AI and data are on the device with no payload movement to the cloud? No, like I said, it won't go down. It would just shift to the device. And do manufacturing industry like yes, they do, right? They do. Private 5G comes with its own advantages. So they do use Edge AI with that.
Sorry, Sneha, sorry to interrupt. Obviously, the students who have shown up here are lucky they get to talk to you, but those who will come back, watch the clips or recording, will lose the context. So either Deepika, you have to read the questions and then
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry,
answer.
please go ahead,
Thank
Deepika.
you. Thank
Good.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't want to mess up Sneha's flow. So both of the questions were, does cybersecurity threat go down now that AI and data are on the device with no payload movement to the cloud? And the other question was, do the manufacturing industries that use Edge AI use private 5G networks?
Yeah. So, so the first question is the cybersecurity threat. It does not go down. It shifts down to the device itself. So that's what the slide addresses is basically we you have to now start looking at device security more. Early on, it used to be optional, right? Well, it depended on the use case. Let's just put it this way. It depended on the use case. But the moment there is model inferencing on the device, this is not optional, right? So this is something that becomes important. The next question was, yes. So the answer to that is yes, they would use, I mean, again, depends on the use case. It's available. And so, yes, they would definitely, it's an option. And based on the use case, they would definitely use it.
Deepika, if it's okay for me to
Yeah,
interrupt.
next.
On the question, because I asked the question about the cybersecurity. So it's a very good point that the AI is running on the device and somebody could just lift the device, take it, and the safety of the device itself is a challenge. I agree to that. But in the IoT world, one of the things I've always heard is if the device is running remotely, then you just have to protect the device. But the minute the device connects to the cloud, it's not just the cloud security and the device security. The biggest cyber security threat happens at the point where there could be a vulnerability in where the payload is actually packaged to send or in transit to reach the cloud. So that's what I was thinking. Now that if there is no cloud connectivity and it's purely running edge AI on the device, then is it better? Is there the cybersecurity threat and hacks and stuff? Does it go down? Are you seeing that as a better direction we are going by just bringing all the AI to the edge?
I mean, so the AI to the edge direction is dictated by the use case, and now the the availability of the technology itself, right? You're not hauling the data back to the cloud, right? Which also was a problem. Like it's just raw data or the encrypted data in some cases. But I wouldn't say it's so. I would say it's just a different problem as opposed to saying that the problem has gone away, right? And in fact, I would say it's a more difficult problem. So there's if you look at solutions, and we can talk about it sometime in the next, but there's device security and then there's model security. Model security is a separate feature from device security, right? So so like I said, so because it's a different problem, it also comes with different solutions. And the solution is more catered towards both the model and the device. So so yeah, to answer the question, I don't think the problem's gone away. It's there. It's just now moved to a different place because the
Thanks.
artifact is
Yeah.
moved to a
Yeah.
different place.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, okay. Do you want to go to the next slide? Okay. So this is my last slide. Like, if you look at operational readiness, I mean, all companies have operational readiness as like one of their key criteria before going in, before releasing, before going into production, whatever you call it. But when it comes to edge AI or deploying AI models on edge, right? It could be on device edge or it could be a gateway that sits. There are three things that we have to ask questions. One is the scalability test. One is that can a non-technical floor manager install this in 5 minutes? It is extremely important because remember, these are the operational manager or the floor manager, they do not understand AI. They are not needed to understand AI. That's not their job. But what they need to do is manage these deployments, right? So are they able to is the operational manager able to do this with limited clicks, right, if you will? Second thing is, if something goes down, what's the truck roll cost? Truck roll cost is basically if I have to send a human to fix a bug, the ROI kind of vanishes. It kind of eats into what you make because um, uh, consider the use cases where the sites are remote, right? Mining, um, um, you know, um, your energy use cases, all of this. If there's a truck roll cost, it eats into what you make. So it's extremely important that the solution that you implement, this infrastructure that you implement, accounts for the maintenance, like accounts for remote ability to maintain and fix things remotely, right, and easily. And the third thing is, it's hardware uptime was a critical criteria, and it still is a critical criteria. But when it comes to edge AI, it's the uptime of the intelligence itself. It's the uptime of how well your model, how up to date your model is, so that you're getting relevant inference from it, right? It's giving the right decisions that it needs to provide to you. So those are the three things I would say. I would leave it on this at this, that these are the three things I would say is core for the success. That's all I had. I do promise to come back. I know we talked about problems and solutions, and I do promise to come back with solutions. And we can go into solutions at a different time.
That was very informative, even in the short amount of time you were able to tell us. And thank you so much for being here. I'm excited for you to come back again when you have another way to talk about this. Sudha, let me give you the floor so you can take it over from here to show us
Yes.
what you have going on.
Yes. You need to stop sharing the screen. That's what I'm seeing right now. Okay. So that is one of those super loaded weekly weds where we learn so much. And I love, as a teacher, one of the things I like is you feel confident you've learned something. And for adult learners, you come from different industries, facing different challenges, and you already have learning from different experiences. So you kind of start connecting the dots. So when you leave, you feel like you have more questions and you don't want to let the speaker go. So thank you so much, Sneha. We really appreciate this. And we are going to call you back because I started taking notes. I thought I knew this topic since I did the AGI course, and I've been thinking about deployment. And I come from the IoT world, and I'm like, okay, I cannot talk about one device. Do I love the autonomous vehicle? And that's what I used as example in my course mainly. It's all about the use case, and you reminded us every 5 minutes it's about the use case. What are we using this device for? What are we using this edge AI for? So it brings us down from the hype to focus on solving a real problem. I think that's very important because people kind of lose focus on that when they get too excited about AI.
Yeah,
So
and the
thank you so
real
much.
challenges start when you look at those use cases, right?
That's
Different
exactly
ways,
it.
different constraints.
Yeah. And this physical device safety is something I forgot, that somebody could just take your device and run away. When I have a security camera, what if the camera itself is stolen? And so if there is latency and the camera doesn't wake up and start catching the person, and then the AI can do like a person identification or something, what happens? The camera is stolen and you don't know who stole it. So I have 3 minutes. So I want to show something very exciting for people. We have ELM here who's put me to work to show you something that he has been working on as a dear project. To showcase our students. So those of you who have been with me since my Stanford days know that I have about 1,000 students or so. But now with LinkedIn Learning, the number of students has gone up to 100,000. And so I want to showcase our students so that you can collaborate amongst yourself. And also, there's in this world of, new jobs and stuff, showing what you have learned, all the different courses you've taken so that people can find you, collaborate, maybe hire you. It's valuable, but I want you to see my beautiful community that inspires me daily. So my starting point is businessschoolofai.com. And that's been revamped by LM. And then there's a community tab here. Here, LM has actually been showcasing students in our newsletter and in Business School of AI on LinkedIn. So he's taken that first set of students who shared their learning on LinkedIn, shared the certificate on LinkedIn, the initial batch, across multiple courses, and he's just put them here into a nice dynamic no-code database. And so what he's done is he's given us a Airtable form. So if you click and say join, you can actually go to the Airtable form and you can fill that form and just say what course you have taken. I believe he's given the LinkedIn learning courses. If you are my Stanford student, or you're a student from Barcelona Technology School or Elisava or other places, I've thought maybe we can include those courses also. And then you give your LinkedIn profile. And we would like to show profile picture. Without a profile picture, I think the directory doesn't look cool enough. So we would love for a profile picture. If you want us to take it from your LinkedIn, we could do that too. But you need to give us permission, so that we can showcase it on website, put it in newsletters and stuff like that. And everybody who knows me knows that I just want to make a living of bragging about my students. So this gives me an opportunity to do that. So those of who you are here, I would urge you to just go to Business School of AI, click on .com, click on community, and just add yourself. See if you're already in the list. Otherwise, add yourself, and you'll be. It won't be live because we want to validate who's adding and what picture they're adding and stuff, and then we can do that. Okay. So with that, I would like to wrap up. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the lovely speaker. Thank you for Devika for hosting this, and for the students who showed up and kept the conversation going. I'm sure we are going to have more questions after this, and we will continue this topic and we'll pick it back up. We try to do that with a little couple months delay, so that you have time to internalize, go apply this at work, and think about this. Come back. Meanwhile, you can continue the conversation with us at Business School of AI on LinkedIn, or come back, talk to me at Sudha Live or here at WeeklyWed. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.